All right, so I did something I didn't think I was gonna do. Every now and then I get kind of riled up. I see what could be done, and I feel these feelings, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, I'm writing a mock. And I said I wouldn't be that person. I said I was gonna be doing mocks because generally speaking, I find proper end-to-end tests much better than mocks, and it kind of it was a bit of a fun time again going back down this mock route. I kind of want to show you something and then kind of just give my thoughts about would I keep on doing mocks? Am I going to keep this up or am I going to stop this? Well, one thing I must say is that I do appreciate mocks in the sense that you can have a complicated item, such as my matchmaking server, and I can hand it this mock. And then when I go and I know I'm going to add a client, I would expect these things to be called. Get best server. It should return nothing. There's no best server. I should be able to then create a server, and here's the address to the server. I should be able to wait for ready. This ready is going to wait for 3 seconds before it actually returns. This was just a test just to make sure this function actually was running. I don't need to wait for 3 seconds. I should probably take that out. I should be able to do this get connection string that's going to return out this beautiful piece of information. And I should expect this kind of call pattern to happen all the way through. This value should then be the argument into the next one, which should be the argument into the next one, which should be the return result of this. And then I should be able to see that information right there, right? And that's fantastic. And it does work. It actually does. And I go through and look at that. Everything is working fantastic. If I remove that 3-second wait right there and just do a little quick, that's the wrong thing, and I do a little test, you can see right there that we clearly failed because, well, I forgot that I had this import up here. And then if I erase that and rerun it, you'll see right away, boom, thing finished, fantastic. Now, you're probably asking, why is that bad? That's actually pretty good, right? Because creating a server, getting the best server, creating a server, waiting for server, getting connection string, those all sound like kind of strenuous activities, right? In the sense that I have to actually go out and actually create either sub-processes or launch servers, say, on Fly.io or somewhere. By the way, not sponsored by Fly.io. Like, I had to go do something. And so why would I ever do that in a test? And let me kind of offer a little bit of counter information. The getting the best server, creating a new server, waiting for ready, connection string, all of these are actual real operations. And they all take a lot of effort to actually test. Now, hear me out. The backing of my server system is actually a SQLite database that's hosted out on the clouds, Terso. I'm actually sponsored by Terso, so a little different there. Anyways, so that Squeal system that I set up actually does exist. It does, and it's real, and I can use that to actually determine if there's a best server, if I need to create a new server, if I need to wait for ready. And so why not, instead of creating this entire mock system, which means that I'm actually kind of, making up what potential errors and return values can happen, but instead actually create this in such a way that I provided a database snapshot. Because again, using SQLite means that I can actually just hand it a file, and the file is the state of the world. Then I can take the state of the world and actually just create that. Oh, I need local servers. I need 3 local servers with 15 connections each. I could actually just boom, 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 prop that all up, make sure the database is in sync with reality, and then actually call my server. And instead of having these like, ooh, what could come back, I actually have, this is what actually comes back. My SQLite results are no different than the SQLite results I would be getting in the real world because it is the same information. It is the same setup. There's real processes running. There's real connections with real clients. Everything is actually happening the way I want it to happen in the real world. And if I've oopsie-daisied something, if I've done something wrong, it will show up. And I feel like it shows up a lot better because even though it just comes down to the same thing, which is I love mocks. I love the idea of mock, shall I say. But every time I mock, I feel like there's some hidden anti-pattern that's going on here. And here's the reason why, is that mocks is your assumption of how the world should work. Now, your assumption of how the world should work and how the world works could be really in line, right? Like you could actually have a perfect view of the world. But every day that goes on, that view can slowly separate. It's kind of like, it's a lot like documentation or having your document, your like API or some sort of document in a third-party service like Google Docs. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I've seen people put up a lot of information about what they're doing, what their team's doing, how they're operating in a Google Doc, and then they have their repo, and their repo inevitably separates from the doc. At one point that doc was a perfect representation of what was going on, but just time and entropy slowly made it just diverge, and then this thing becomes almost worthless. And the thing that is actually like the important one, the one that actually is the item, not the illusion of the item, but the actual item, becomes different than what your worldview suggests. And then all of a sudden your tests all pass, but they're wrong. They don't work because this isn't how the world operates anymore. And so I just want to avoid mocks, but I always want to give it a try, right? Because what happens if I'm wrong? And I think this is a big takeaway that a lot of people should have is, what if you're wrong? What if your opinion of the world is wrong? Does that mean you should just always keep your head in the sand and just do it one way? Probably not. Probably, honestly, not the best way to live your life, and I think that's pretty obvious why. But you know what is a really great thing to do? Test it. Prove to yourself whether what you think is real or not. And for me, this is how I do it. I write good tests that require me to actually use a lot of the library, including being able to do like internal functions, once calls to enforce it so that on test teardown it all happens. We're hitting wake groups. Crazy things are happening right here. And it gave me enough information all in one that I was able to actually go in and say, yes, this is better, or yes, this is worse. And at the end of the day, this mock library, by the way, Mockery, I think is what it's called, fantastic. Absolutely amazing. You generate your mocks beforehand given an interface. Like, check this out. If I go game server interface, look at this. I just say right here, go generate Mockery, name game server. And it went through and it just created this file. And if I look in here, you'll actually see that it actually creates a whole mock file for me. So I theoretically could do stuff. I actually added this little log line right here, just so as I'm running, I can see when cleanup happened, because I actually had a problem with my wake group, dude. I make the same mistake so many times in my life, where instead I do this. Isn't that just like the worst thing in the universe for those that are familiar with Go? You do this, and then everything explodes, and you don't know why, and it's just because you did done versus wait, because it feels, done feels right. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. All right, well, I'm supposed to start streaming at 7:30. It is currently 7:33. Not a good look on my behalf, so I got to cut this video out. So I hope you enjoyed this. I built this all yesterday while streaming. It was a lot of fun. Really happy I got to look into this stuff. At the end of the day, I hope that you can kind of figure out the right level to mock, because for me, the right level, I feel like, especially with this project, is not at the service level, but at the database level. And SquealLite is such an amazing tool for mocking at that level. Because remember, SquealLite's just a file. CP your test file, new version of it, edit it all you want, ensure the state's the same at the end. Like it operated the way you expect it to. That's something about that just feels really right. All right, hey, the name is the Primogen. And also, since you're still here, I'm going to ask you a quick question. Terso has actually asked if I want to run some ads on a channel for them. They would be really appreciative of me doing that during their launch day, because they have a lot of really cool features coming up with what they're doing with SquealLite that is actually fantastic. And so I was actually going to throw potentially some just like 10-second ad reads in these type of videos. What do you guys think about that? Let me know. Type it up, because I want to do something that's not obnoxious and that's really just straight to the point and quick. And I feel like these type of videos lend themselves really well, where I can just be like, and blah, 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 blah. Hey, look at this. Hey, check this out. I think it's really great. And then I just go back. And so it's not like big, long, minute-long versions. I don't know. It will be shorter than my explanation of it being short. I can tell you that much. Give me your thoughts.